Right. Hey, it's Scott Tempesta from Sailing Anarchy. This is our 15 minutes of fame. It's not really my 15 minutes of fame. And our guest today doesn't need any more 15 minutes of fame because he's got plenty. We're lucky enough to have Vince Brun with us today. Hey, Vince, how are you?
Very good, thanks.
Good. Thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
You know, it's funny. Vince and I were talking before this got going, and I was working at Sobstad Sales back then with, in Mark Reynolds' loft in the Star days, and Vince was North Star days, and just the incredible San Diego rivalry between the two. And it was just amazing to be an observer on the outside to watch you guys, push each other, take turns beating each other in regattas. You've had tons of rivalries for sure, right? Because you've raced one design classes where it's really, really tough racing and your competitors. Mark and your rivalry had to be one of the best ones, didn't it?
It's definitely at the start class at the time I felt was one of the most competitive classes, and so that's kind of the pinnacle of probably the pinnacle of my career, and so it was a really a gigantic challenge just to kind of and have this guy right next to us here. So he's in San Diego. We were both in San Diego, and we were also sailing the one design weekend at San Diego Yacht Club and duke it out. So it was not like going to the World Championship and then you see Mark Reynolds. And so you see Mark Reynolds almost every weekend. So particularly when you're sailing a lot, you see the guy very often, or tuning, or just doing something in the boat. So yeah, I think it is. You mentioned the rivalry in other classes. Yeah, I think it's without this kind of rivalry, I think the sport would be very dull. I think this is what makes you better. And like I said to you before, I have a lot of respect for all the people, and I give them a lot of credit for all the achievements, whatever achievements I got, because and hopefully be similar to the other guys, because I think we push each other, and so that was kind of fun, and I love it. I just I couldn't have enough, particularly when you're younger, you have
Right.
all the energy, and this so was a lot of fun.
Well, most sports, really, part of what really makes most sports happen in terms of excitement levels are rivalries, right? Think about Senna and Prost in Formula One, just for an example, right? Wow. And so once you get to know who the top guys are and you see them go at each other, it's fascinating. And for me, it really was, again, sitting on the sidelines. So what are you doing now? Like, you're fairly involved in some sailing. Tell me what's going on with you.
Well, so before we go there, so I think the part that is the rivalry is only happened because you start to respect. I mean, the last thing I always, when I'm coaching now, as you mentioned, one of the things I always tell my guys is that you have to respect your competitors. You can't just go over there and think, oh, these guys are a chopped liver, I can deal with them. And particularly guys that sailed before and then they stop sailing and then they come back and, oh yeah, I used to beat that guy. Well, trust me, respect the other guys and just see what you can, how you're gonna go the next time you sail. But I think is a small community, right? Sailing is not that big. You just meet a lot of people along the way. And so having these kind of opportunities to kind of sail against these guys that are sometimes your rivals are very successful in other things too. So it's a pretty nice environment to kind of grow up into it.
For sure.
So as far as the coaching, I felt like it comes the time of 73 years old now, and it comes the time that you feel like your physical skills are not there anymore. I ride the bike. I try real hard to be fit and do the most I can. But if you just like compare compared to guys sailing at stars or something nowadays, they hike harder. He's so fit to be able to compete in the level. I sail the last Star Worlds over here was 2012 or 13, something like that. And I sail, and in light air, you'll still kind of have a little bit of gain, but as soon as the breeze is up, it's
right, it's over.
low, right? So I'm like, hey, look, what is the next step? So I've been sailmaking all my life. I've been almost 40 years with North Sail. And so I really had mentors that just, you know, best ones you can possibly have. I have a Lowell helped me with my career, and I met a guy named Pete Bennett. I don't know if you remember him from San Diego. He showed me how to be a sailmaker, you know, go on the floor, and you know, really tough guy, but you know, the nicest guy. After you met him, the nicest guy, and he was so good to me. And then we have Dennis. Dennis over here in San Diego. So you kind of go, hey, Dennis gonna make a sail test. And so you just kind of, hey, can I go? You know, you just like go as a third wheel, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
drive the coach boat. Then
Whatever.
So, whatever. So I had this background. So I basically had so many, I've done so many sail testing and so many work on sails. I heard so many different theories about sails and how the sail shape and things like that. And I felt, well, maybe I'm valuable to somebody else in terms of helping that person to achieve maybe not to win a world championship, but maybe a higher level. And so I got invited to sail to coach a friend of mine, and I started to like Drew Frieders, which you know, and I kind of started coaching him a little bit, and then I was 20, and he was with Kilroy, practicing with Kilroy, and I kind of organized that, and it just basically we started kind of getting better and better, and you know, to a point that then he won the world championship, and it was great, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it. I almost felt like I was part of the boat. I felt like I was part of the crew, and so I kind of had a little bit of buzz doing that and excitement doing that, and so I said, hey, maybe I should do more of that. And then I retired from North Sails not very long after that. And so I started to do more, and so now today I'm coaching some naturals. I coach, you know, IC37s, J Bolt with Tom Siebel, and so I have like a few things that I do as a coach. So,
Nice.
yeah.
What do you? So I assume you do most of your coaching and observations off the boat, right?
Yeah. No, sometimes on the boat.
On the boat.
Sometimes you
right.
go on the boat.
You
if
do.
the boat's big enough, you go on the boat. If
Yep.
it's small, you can't do it. But
right.
It sometimes it's good to be in the boat just to see what is kind of the atmosphere or the communication, so you learn about what the weak links or the strengths of the program is and stuff like that.
What do you think you bring to coaching? Like, what is it that you? I mean, obviously, it's based upon years and years and years of doing this in various boats. But what is it that you personally think that you bring the most to coaching a boat, a program, whatever?
I think the biggest thing is just basically learning that it's small steps, and is you don't go over there and just kind of turn things around in 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, and you just have to just kind of little by little. Sometimes people don't even realize they're getting better, and so I try to just to kind of document everything. I try to document with this sail shape, so I kind of educate. I love trimming the sails. I love the sail trim, the mast setups and stuff like that. I try to kind of coach people how to develop a matrix for the boat, things like that, because I believe, like when I sail, in my days, I tried to have the matrix for the boat, the setup of the boat, almost automatic. That already during a big events, I'm not looking for that little extra speed. I'm just doing the things that I already know and utilizing that to and leaving my brains open for the tactics, for the starts, for whatever it is that's happening during the race. So you're alert. Because if you start with the like a typical conversation with the sailors is the head in the boat versus head out of the boat, right? You head out of the boat, you'll be better. But to be put a head out of the boat, you have to have confidence on your speed, right? Because without speed, you go nowhere. So the big workout was just like training to get the boat speed all organized with two boat casting or whatever. And then when you have the boat speed, confident in the boat speed, I basically just go through the settings that I already kind of knew. And you concentrate 100% on tactics and starts and positioning or whatever works.
Interesting. You really do have to establish that boat speed baseline, right, in various conditions, various rig adjustments, so that you go, okay, it's blowing this, let's change this to that, and now I can focus on sailing the boat.
Guys that are changing the rig during the race because they just try, let's try this. You try, it never works. You know, well, very seldom works.
When did you start sailing personally?
I started sailing when I was, my dad built the first boat, and it was like a little bit of was a dinghy first, and then from dinghy they put a mast on and sails and stuff, and we started sailing when maybe I was 9, my brother was 12, and we started going out, and my dad saw that we like it, and he got for one Christmas he got a snipe for us. And we started sailing snipe. We were so little that we have to stay with 3. We take a buddy of my brother, which was older, and it was the 3 of us on the boat. We couldn't even pull the board up. That was too heavy for us. But with upsize, at that times the snipes were like a really small cockpit, so you could capsize and and bring the boat back up and stuff. Right. We had a ball with that boat.
Right.
And we learned a lot, and it was a good opportunity to get away from the parents. So we kind of always enjoy those days.
I'll never forget when. So I started off on a Sabot. My parents bought a boat and it came with a Sabot. So I learned how to sail it. And I'll just never forget that one day when I went out first time by myself, and I'm mid harbor, and I suddenly realized, like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. I have independence. It's just me and the little Sabot and the wind, and that's it. And if I can control those things, it's all about me. And
master the universe.
Totally, right? And then you realize that this sailing thing, I want this to be my universe. I don't want to master any other universe. I like this one right here.
My universe.
And let's face it, Vince, we've realistically spent the rest of our lives pursuing that in different levels, in different ways. Right. But it's never not sailing, right?
I just see the sailing as so good in terms of like the social part. You meet a lot of people, you meet a lot of good people, and there's a lot of incredible talented people there, but also some families and kids and adults, older, young. And so, any phase in your life, you always have you feel comfortable because there's always some of the peers that are kind of the same kind of level or even if you have kids, and I go to San Diego Yacht Club, and you have the Petey Bushes and these other kids that I know that I kind of love them like if they are my kids. And so I like to talk to them like, hey, how you doing? How's it? What are you doing latest? And what kind of sailing you're doing and stuff like that. And I try to kind of advise them with something. Some of the parents even ask you, hey, can you just tell my kids what to do? Because the parents have no power, right? The parents always, whatever they say, they're gonna do the opposite. So somebody else they kind of respect is have a little more value. So anyway, I cannot say enough about how lucky we are to just be part of sailing.
You know, and that comes across with you. A lot of people that I know that have sailed with you, that know you, it's that you're just a very positive guy. You're just focused, but you got a lot of love for the sport and a lot of love for people around you. I mean, just to listen to you talk about your competitors, not in a like, oh yeah, I didn't like that guy, or I wanted to kick that guy's ass. And I'm not saying you didn't have those thoughts, because of
No,
course you did.
we did have those sides, for
Of
sure.
course,
Yeah.
but you know, you don't come across that way, and I think that that energy is really done you very good for, you know, all the various kinds of sailing you've done. But the other thing that people have said about you is, and I wanted to ask you how you figured this out, your eye for sail shapes. And obviously that has done you well as a sailmaker, but where did you get that? Where do you think that came from? Did that just come naturally?
No, for initially you sailing, you don't even have. I didn't have any idea what I was doing,
Right.
And then the best thing I did was just I decided to move to move to San Diego, and I basically at that point I was sailing lasers and solings and stuff like that. Cruise when I brought in the soling, and then the involvement with Lowell. Lowell had so much of that engineering background. He was an aeronautics engineer, and basically, uh, just being involved with him, and just like I lived for a month and a half with him in his house and it's just like basically huge influence on me. And he was such a nice man. I mean, it's just
Very
like
nice.
very super nice man. I mean,
Yep, absolutely.
just he didn't care about anything else but just like how can we make a sail fast and stuff. He's the guy that in the cotton days he was ironing his sail to be smooth compared to the other guys. I mean,
Yep.
this is how serious that he was. So speaking about guy working on details, I mean that guy was they used to call the Pope for a reason, right? So
Right.
anyway, so hanging with him and Pete Bennett. Pete Bennett's a guy that a lot of people in San Diego remember Pete Bennett. Pete Bennett's a guy that not very many talk about anymore, but Pete Bennett was one of these guys that had a great eye for sales. He not just great eye for sales, but great eye how to make sales. Remember, the sails were real stretchy cloth those days.
Sure.
To make a sail, you have to compensate for all that stretch. These guys they were like talking about sharp individuals. Those guys knew how to, okay, so the sail has a reverse left curve in the top because the sail's going to stretch so much. And then the sail looks horrible on the floor. Then you put 10 knots of breeze and the sail looks perfect. You go, wow, my God, this is like a stroke of genius, you know? So anyway, so hanging with those guys and hanging with that time when the cloth is start to get lower stretch, that's now it's all computerized and all these things. Those days were made like if you make a suit for a person,
Sure.
these guys were that kind of people. And so uh, Pete Bennett was incredible. What a kind of incredible, like to figure out how to, okay, the scratches, this is what's going to happen, how to do it. Then you start learning. And everything was kind of very creative ways to do things because we didn't have any instruments. So everything was just kind of like Lowell putting the piece of cloth on the antenna of his cars, stuff like
Yeah, the
that.
flutter test, the original flutter test.
The flutter test. And so who comes with these ideas, right? The telltales. Wow, the telltales. I mean, the old days, Buddy Melgus won the Olympics in '72 without telltales. Trying to stay without a telltales. It's
Good luck.
impossible.
I know.
Impossible. Today we have telltales in the leaves, telltales everywhere. We know what the flow is and
There's
everything.
like 5 of them in a row,
Exactly.
you know, right?
These guys didn't have anything at those days. So you have to be so creative. And Lowell was so like in the technology. So I mean, remember Heiner Milner?
Yes.
And Heiner, he basically was a guy from San Diego with the
I
top
didn't know that.
security. Yeah. And he used to sail Solings. And Heiner invented Telltales, which was the air going through two little things, and was you could do sail at night. Yeah, at night you could sail big boats with the Heiner Telltales because you as an instrument, a needle that would go from side to side,
Right.
and have these wires come down the left. So what an opportunity. I mean, I'm coming from Brazil. I grew up in Brazil, as you know, and coming in and speeding and being a fly on the wall and see all this happening. I mean, what an opportunity.
Wow.
So that kind of my curiosity just exploded, and I just basically I just kind of enjoyed it more. That's the part that I enjoy the most.
You're so lucky. I mean, and I know you know that, to
Yeah.
have those guys as your mentors.
Right, right,
I mean, groundbreaking guys. I mean,
right,
the sport
right,
wouldn't be anywhere near where it is without
right,
either of those guys,
right,
right?
right. Exactly,
That's
exactly.
amazing.
Yeah.
When when did you start to realize, as you started racing, and I don't know what age this was, but I think there's a point where everybody maybe they don't reflectively look back and go, oh wow, I think I'm gotten pretty good now. But was there a point in your racing career when you started to realize, I can hang with people? In fact, I can, not only can I hang, I can lead, and I can win races, and I can win regattas, and I can win titles?
So my my approach was always uh, to not expect very much. You know, it's just always like, hey, just do the best you can. And I just want to make sure I train well enough that I'm prepared. The last thing I want is just show up for the regatta, not being prepared. And then you have maybe a good result or a bad result, but it just it just didn't feel complete. Like when you just go over there and you finish third, but that was fast. I was satisfied with that. And then you just keep on doing, and then all of a sudden from third you go to second. You just kind of keep on. Oh, the light air performance that I was a little weak. Kind of let's work on that. And so you try the thing which I remember sailing crew for my brother, and and then the excitement and everything else, and that was detrimental to my performance because I would get too excited. I would compromise the races, and sometimes like by trying to go inside someone and stuff, and all of a sudden I'm disqualified and stuff like that, some stupid stuff. And just by being extra competitive and not being measuring and hold back and say, okay, sit tight over here and wait your opportunity, and I found myself sometimes like holding the tiller too hard, like you holding the hiking stick, and then you kind of realize, God, why am I holding that thing so tight? I don't have to. I should be gentle with this. And so all of a sudden you start to realize that you just like, hey, I need to calm down here. And that's one thing that like Mark Reynolds and some of these other guys are good at it. They can control themselves better because the guys to do well in the high level, you have to be able to just kind of not, you can't be thinking about, oh man, I'm winning this regatta over here. Oh my God, so you can't be like that. You have to just go and be comfortable just being there. Oh, this is so so. Oh yeah, we're beating that guy. Okay, okay. So it's not that big deal anymore. That you feel like it is. It's not like you feel like you have to beat that person, but if you're beating, you don't feel in panic. Like me and my brother, one time for the first time, we came in 1970 some sailing court against Buddy Melgus. And Buddy Melgus is the guy you read all the magazines, you go to Brazil, this is the guy, right? God.
Right.
God.
Right.
And so he's over there, he's right behind us. And we freaked out. We just couldn't. we couldn't. We were just so nervous. Buddy Mouse tack. We tacked with Buddy Mouse, and Buddy Mouse tack again. We tacked, and he just like pretty soon he was over. He passed us, and he passed us just because we were freaking out.
Well, fortunately, Vince, Brazilians aren't known for being excitable. So,
exactly.
So you have to temper some of that, right?
Exactly.
It's funny about holding the tiller. Isn't that just the truth? You know, when you're in a tense situation and you find yourself just gripping and like just if you just ease up a little bit, it's amazing.
Yeah, a lot better.
You loosen things up.
Like the boats were like that. You know?
No, it's so true. One of the things I want to ask you is, so your ability to realize that you're starting to get good was simply predicated upon all of the steps that you had taken to get yourself up to a place where I'm now pretty good. And you realize that it doesn't just happen, right? It's not an overnight sensation. I've spent a long time dialing in these little things, improving here, learning there, getting thrown out of a regatta here, just having a bad day, and then looking at those things. And it seems to me that what you've really done, Vince, a lot of the times is eliminate the things that can go wrong as best you can, right?
Right. I think is respecting your competitors and try to work on their weakness. And if you're getting beat in light air, what's the problem? And try to be objective, because a lot of the people say, oh, like you go in boats, and how many times you go on a boat and the guy say, oh, we went well. And but you really have to kind of really ask yourself, did that really go well, or maybe I could improve a little bit,
Yeah.
Another guy a little bit better, but your competitive spirit will say, oh no, we're just okay. It was a little bit of a header or a lift that he got, and that's why he gained a little bit on us. Well, so if you work on those things and just really kind of be more sincere on your judgment, I think that helps a lot too.
For sure it does. I mean, right? It's the old loser's lament, like, oh, he got a puff over there.
Exactly.
We sailed into light air. We had it won until
Exactly.
right.
Yeah, we had it. Yeah. Well, so if you try to be kind of pick up on those spots, what are the things, and then you start to think, okay, what is causing that? And then you try to analyze. And that's what I help with the camera, video, taking pictures of the different trims and stuff like that. And then you kind of, okay, this is you, this is the other guy. I try, when I'm coaching, I try never to, well, somebody might say that I did it one time, but I tried never to say that to the person, this is how it's done. I always try to say, these are the options, these are the other things that could happen, these are the other ways to do the same thing. So what do you think? And try to make the person makes a decision themselves. Because I think when the decision is made by the team is a much more powerful, it's much more positive than some coach telling them what to do. And then you turn into a robot, and that's exactly the opposite thing you expect from a team.
That's amazing. I mean, you're so right. It just, if you get, the more you can get the team involved on a boat, the better the boat's going to be. It can't just be one guy in the back, do this, do that, go here, tack there. You don't learn anything. Right. But if you can help get the team a little involved through some of your coaching techniques, that's great. Have you learned anything from coaching? Like you might watch somebody and go, that can't be fast, but it turns out it is fast. Like, any examples of some of the things that you've learned?
Well, it's just like if you look par 40 going upwind, and you with the toggle all the way up and the boom way past the center line, and you look at it and go, is this right? And you kind of doesn't appear to be right. I mean, this is like a flap. I mean, this plane is not going to fly with that wing. So, but if it's working, Then you go, okay, it's working. Why is it working? And then you try to say, okay, what is the things that are making that work? And then you just kind of somehow evolve and you kind of learn. But again, I think when the team is involved and the team kind of see the same thing, you show the picture of the guys with the travel way up. These are the guys that won the race. And it's easier for you to just say, maybe we should try and travel up a little bit and see how it goes, right? And a little bit of try and error. I think sailing has a lot of that. I would say a big percentage is try and error. You just try a little tighter, a little loose, and just see how it goes. And okay, went better. Boats, so many different boats, Scott. You have boats that have weather helm, other boats that have lee helm, boats with a small keel, boats with like your boat, which have a very small little keel, very hard you need to keep the floor attached all the time. Other keels like the Agils, which you can't stall. The thing is just gigantic keel. So every boat requires a little different technique. I remember like sailing at August 24, and you have to keep the boat pressed all the time. Like if you try, I came from the stars and just kept pinching a little bit and stay a little high because the boat has a big keel. All of a sudden you pinch a little bit and you lost the test and you go, yeah, what happened? So anyway, it's every boat has a little idiosyncrasies and learning how that works, and it's key on getting the boats back.
I remember when I think it was the Transpat 52s were probably the first class to really notably crank the main to weather. And you just would look at the pictures where the thing is actually like on starboard tack, the boom is actually like to weather of the center line. And, your instinct is there's no way that could be right, right?
Yeah. Or the jib lead is like 3 degrees from the center line, then you go 3 degrees. I mean, our starboat will go is 7 degrees, 6.5, 7 degrees. The Atlas is 9, 8, 9, 9.8, something like that. So adjusting your setup for these kind of boats, for the kind of arrangement of deck layout, the rig, or the way the boat's set up, is key to get performance out of these boats.
It's interesting. I'm a notorious pincher. I love to pinch, but in Flying Tiger, you really have to be careful. You just stop the boat, and so I either have to be yelled at by somebody like you, or I have to just internally go, Jesus Christ, stop pinching so much.
Yeah. Again, I think this is the training. The more time you spend in the boat, the damn you see. Like when we organize, let's say, a tuning session or testing before the regatta, the first day, how, the fuel is not there. And then second day, a little bit better. Third day, all of a sudden, everybody's in this element and everything starts to kind of click a lot better, So I always strongly recommend the people showing up a little early for the regatta just to get a little bit more, unless you were sailing the week before, then it's all good. But people that come in for 1 month before, like one design weekend in San Diego, they say 1 month before, now you're gonna sail. You show up there, you kind of cold, and the performance won't be there as good as it could be.
It's an interesting sport, especially in sort of big boats, not necessarily the top end, because that's a whole nother level, but kind of the middle, I would almost say middle America, right? The PHRF types of boats and those sort of things. It's the most amazing thing that guys spend a lot of money buying the boats, right? They buy sails, they get the food and all that stuff, delivery, bottoms, all that stuff, but they are really hesitant to hire coaches. And and it's such a weird thing. I'm just like an average PHRF guy, right? He's got a 40-footer, 35-footer. They just don't get coaches. If you go buy a set of golf clubs, ping golf clubs, whatever, they don't show you how to swing them. They say, here's your clubs. And you go, can you show me how to swing them? No. See the coach over there? There's a good coach. Hire him and he'll show you how to swing the goddamn clubs, right? Same on a boat. Guys looking at a Genoa, maybe he doesn't even know what he's looking at, right? And so he gets a coach on board. Okay, so you see how the sail's doing this. You need to move the lead here. Here, let's do that. Take a look. Oh, yeah, I see that. rarely is that done. I know where, you know, you're working with higher end guys, right, who probably have the resources, but most people won't spend just a few $100s to spend a day on the water with Chris Snow, for example, Brian Janney. There's a bunch of guys worldwide, but just even here in San Diego. And I've always been amazed by that. I mean, hell, I could I could use a day with you, Vince. You probably couldn't use a day with me, but it's interesting that people don't do those things to help get themselves to the next level.
I think they have some coaches that are they don't represent the coaches very well. You know, like I see some coaches that they they I remember like when I was sailing stars and coaches that were just like you're tuning before the start and it's real critical. It's just before the start and it comes this power boat and just pass right in front of you and make a big wave. Or guys that are basically disrespectful, you know, and other coaches that I hear like some of the younger generation, like when they coaching kids, that they create a dependence on the coach, and I think that's the to me is something that have to be worked out because what you want is you want to get the team better and not that they depend on you to get the results because you want them to be able to learn the swing as you said and then they can just go on their own and then hire next time when they need something else because I believe some of the coaching that we see the guys will create a little bit of dependence and I think that's a negative.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, learn a little bit, then go off, and you know, use it, practice it. What worked, what didn't work. If you want to come back for another session, then you have notes about the things that you liked or didn't like, right? Then you can work on those, and you know, but it takes some dedication, you know, and it takes some money, and time. And people don't. Most people don't have all three of those things, right? They might have one.
So Scott, I think people do have a time because we had the time before. And I think people will create the time if they see the benefit. And I think it's a question of seeing the benefit. And in a lot of the programs, a lot of the boats are, the guys are sometimes the ambition is kind of low too. They don't have, they just want to sail, they want to have a few beers and stuff like that, enjoy the cocktail party. And so that's which is fine. You know, people just want to go sailing or want to sail with their kids or, you know, so it's a family boat or whatever. So it's cool. What a cool environment just to be racing and you can race. People told me that before and it's just like, what sport you can go over there and you have the Russell Coots or whatever sailing on the same course with you. I mean, you tell me you play golf, you're gonna be playing with Arnold Palmer or some or you know the top golfers and in the same course. You know that doesn't happen, and so the opportunity in sailing it's just it's 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 pretty cool that you can just go there and even have a cocktail with that person. You know?
Of course, right? The sport, you can do that. And your point to the guys who just want to go sailing with their friends or they go racing, that's fine. But if you're coming back to the dock complaining like, we never get any higher than fourth place, you need a coach. You need somebody to show you the things that you're not seeing, that some of you guys don't know, right? And there's certain ways to go about it. You don't yell at a guy and say, this is how it is. You look at it, you examine it, you change it, and then you talk about it, and you see the difference in the knot meter. Right. And then team building within that. If it's a 40-footer, you got eight guys, 10 guys, you know, it's a lot involved, but guys just don't do it enough in my estimation.
Yeah. Well, if you look at it, it's the same in business. It's a lot of business that don't utilize the resources, which is a coach, a business coach, like selling, like your example before. So if you're selling, and you work for a sailmaking, you want to sell more sails, and then you bring a coach to help you out to sell more, right? And then the guy gives you a bunch of ideas, and you can say, well, I don't like any of the ideas. I think they're stupid or whatever. Or you could give it a try and
Right.
say, okay, let's see if I can make that work in my business, right?
Yep.
And so in sailing, the advantage is that we have people there like myself, which is already went through this whole process. And so it's just like when I go over there and I look one of these boats, I kind of think of myself early days when I, was young and trying to do something, or the problems that I had in sailing J24s, when you know, putting the group together and getting everybody happy. And so I try to bring kind of that kind of um, help with this kind of program, just like bring them to, sometimes if the guys are not getting along because I didn't like the way you spoke to me, some could be as simple as that, or is basically with slow in this kind of conditions, downwind with the spinnaker, we just go really slow. Okay, so let's check it out, the group position, the angle of the hill and stuff like that. So you start documenting everything. And so at the end, the guys will know more about what they're doing, because when you have a view from the outside, is a little different from the view that you have from inside the boat.
For sure. For sure. And you in particular, I mean, the wealth of experience, your knowledge base in various classes and successes all the way through them. I mean, I think you told me 10 world titles, right? You've won 10 world championships. So that alone just says that you've spent a lot of time in all these classes learning, and the way you've described how you've learned, how you've gotten better. You can take, that's all right here, Vince. It's all, and it's right here, because you obviously have the heart for it. You have the passion for it. And you can't go anywhere in the sport or in anything in life unless la pasión. It's gotta be right here, right? And then hopefully if you have a brain that semi works, then it's all up here, and you can impart that on people. And like, what a gift! I mean, seriously.
So Scott,
I'm gonna hire you, but I can't afford you.
You only can excel. It's like Steve Jobs said. Steve Jobs said that is one of the Stanford commencement speech, and he said that you cannot. Uh, sorry about not being more perfect quote, but it's just like you cannot excel if you don't love it. So you have to love what you do. Otherwise, you're not going to excel. You're going to just go over there from 9 to 5. You're clocked out. You're done, right?
Right.
But if you love it, after 5, you're over there like 5:30, 6 o'clock. I want to get this thing done better. I think we can improve on this, right? And that's the same with anything else in life.
It's so true. I think we can make this better. I think I can do this a little different that might be better, right? It's that sort of innovative thought, like we can keep doing this better. We're not happy. We're happy here, but we know there's something else even better. Let's keep working.
And that's contagious. So that's contagious. So all of a sudden you have a little team doing that, and pretty soon you get a little bit better. So that's what you need. You need, like, you have the Hugo Schreiner to kind of carry you on his back, and just kind of like, okay, like Hugo was
such a great guy.
Superb guy.
I know.
And I love the guy. Was one of my best friends, and so that is a guy that if he will call me, like I'm a little tired or whatever, go, we're gonna go sailing, right? And you go, what's the answer? You're gonna answer Hugo, no.
You can tell Hugo no.
You just say, yes, sir.
Hugo, for those who don't know, Hugo was a monster of a man, probably the nicest guy. So when he would come into Mark's loft, he would call me Shrimp. That was always my nickname, anytime he saw me. And, most people compared to Hugo are shrimps anyway. And I already am a shrimp to start with. So I'm like, yeah, yes, sir. I never went like, hey, Hugo, don't call me Shrimp. He would just laugh at me.
It's just that the feeling that your teammate is just as hungry, or the desire is just theirs as much as you. The fire is just as big as yours.
So great.
So when you have that, it's just really easy, right? Because it's just marching along with that person is no problem, So.
And you don't want to let them down. because he'll go sail with somebody else, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's interesting, right? Where you got to match the crew.
Yeah.
Usually it's the crew's got to match the, no, this way it's like, yes, I got to
Exactly.
do what Hugo says,
Exactly.
right? Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
so one of the great things about this, my website, is that we get a lot of reader interaction. And so I put this out there to people that we're going to interview you, and I had to delay it last week, but I have a lot of questions from readers. And I know I don't want to take up all your time, and I won't go through all of them because there's a lot, but there's some really good ones. So this is from Anarchist Sunseeker. And I think you've probably already answered this. Who were your mentors early in your career? But I think the real question here is, what are the fundamental things that they taught you?
So my number one mentor was Lord North, and he basically was a role model in all aspects. Like he was, honesty was incredible. I mean, that guy was so honest. I mean, it just and I did some things wrong, which I don't want to bring it up, but I did some wrong thing one time, and he kind of insisted to me. Um, Basically, I hit the mark with him, and I tried to ignore him. And he told me, Vince, we hit the mark. And I said, I, I tried to not answer, just basically shut up and just keep on driving. And he said, Vince, we hit the mark. And the third time, he basically, at that time, was dropping out of the race, and would drop out of the race. And I was ready to do that myself, but he made me do it, and it was a big lesson there for me.
Interesting. I believe that hitting the mark is an interesting thing, right? We all have that ethical decision to make, right? Nobody has seen us hit it,
Right.
and if we just keep going, nobody knows that we did. But
yeah.
I mean, I
hit the mark. I knew I hit the mark. We just barely hit the mark, but we hit the mark. And it's so I was ready to just kind of let it go. And but he made a point, and I learned my lesson. I just kind of, you know what, there's people here that is and I feel like always is watching, so I don't want to disappoint, but it's just like, it's one of these things that you make the mistake, and then later you think about, and you have no argument whatsoever to say, oh, maybe I should have done, bullshit. Why do I have to go to abandon the race? Later you say, you know what, I'm going to have to be more careful, and don't do that again.
And do the right thing. I mean, you can't be a guy, especially the person, the sailor you've become, you can't be the guy who people goes, oh yeah, he cheats. He hits the mark and doesn't go back, right?
It's a shallow victory. It's just basically you're gonna always have that in the back of your mind, and it's not gonna be a fun victory. And if you have a fun victory, it's something you celebrate for the rest of your life, So
I'll bet there's damn few of us who have hit marks and not gone back sometimes. I mean, so I've heard. I don't know, but I've heard that people do that sometimes. All right, let's see. Here's a good one. Of all the different areas you have sailed in last year, which is he wants to know which area has the hottest opti-moms?
Oh my God. So I'm I'm not on the opti moms because I grew up. I didn't even have optis. Over here we had Sabbaths, right?
Right. Right.
So I don't have an answer for that one. I'm never been in the opti scene, so I'm sorry.
It's a dopey question anyway. Yeah. Here's a good one. What is the most memorable protest you have had?
The memorable protest, let's see. Early on, we had a situation like this. I'm crewing for my brother, and we had a protest against a guy named E.B. Anderson. which you know he used to be diamond sail makers, and then
Oh,
he turned
oh,
North Sails.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was a Soling World Championship, and he was sailing in 1975 in Chicago, and Soling Worlds. And we come into the mark, and there's three boats, and so we are like a little bit behind and kind of behind the group, but we just so the guy the Ib was the middle and is a guy outside, and so we went in there and so so we went in there so it's a big protest, and it was a long protest, and was interesting because the guy so we had no contact with Ib, and Ib hit the guy outside.
Right.
And so he goes, "Oh, I hit the guy outside because it's uh, you didn't give enough room, blah blah." And then the guy outside didn't help him, but somehow was along. I remember this protest. We just all eating our nails, fingernails out there outside, just kind of.
Yep.
We ended up finishing seventh in the world, seventh, sixth or seventh, something like that in the world, and we were super happy. I mean, this was like, yay, you know.
You know, who amongst us hasn't said or hasn't had it said to us when we're steering, stick it in there, go ahead and stick it in there.
Oh,
You'll make it work, you know, and it's like,
this is what I was telling you about. That's when after that, I still like, then maybe the result of this protest, we end up like trying to stick more than before, you know, because we got away, we end up like not being disqualified. So I end up sailing if you remember the old days, the college guys come in, they coached by Joe Dufflin, and so there was the old trick that, you know, not many people are familiar with, but the guy who made it really wide first, extra wide, and then they close. Even if they have to go kind of head to end to close, they go, and then all of a sudden there's no place to go. And it looks so beautiful. The hole is just right there and looks beautiful. And
then suddenly you're pointing right at his beam, right?
Exactly. And I felt for that a few times.
I am too. The resultant crash is not pretty. I mean, it's not.
Great lesson.
For sure. Let's see here. All right. It's a pretty long one, but let's see what you got here. Many of the greatest in our sport have spent time in the star class, won the world, yourself included. What is it about the boat that in the past has been a magnet to stepping stone for the greats? Anything that you took away from the star that helped your success in other boats? You have raced a variety of boats. Do you have a favorite one?
Well, that's easy. So the Stars is a boat that is have a very skinny little mast with all kind of shrouds, lower backstay, upper backstay. Everything is adjustable, can be adjusted. You can't adjust anything. There's no class rules on that. You can adjust during the race anytime. You can change the rate. You can do anything with the rate, basically. So you learn a lot from that, because you can, okay, I think my main is a little full in the middle and is developing too much helm. You ease the lower backstay. They call it, it's a check stay.
Sure.
Lower backstay, and use the lower backstay or change the lever a little bit, and boom, the boat's all of a sudden. And the helm is a big rudder, but the helm is one of the best boats to steer. Like, you can steer when the boat is well tuned. You can turn backward and you steer the boat just as good. It's just, you don't even have to look. It's just fantastic. When
really?
it's well tuned, it's fantastic. They found the groove better than any other boat out there. The problem with the boat is that very physical. It's just the big main.
It's huge.
I had a back surgery, and I attribute to probably back surgery related to start mainframing.
No doubt.
Because it wasn't easy, and you just like as you get older, you use your back more other than use your arm, to trim the sail. And so, but it's one of the best boats, I would say.
Of course.
It's a old, is a basically an old design, 1921, I believe, but it's still fantastic boat to sail.
It is amazing. You know, one of the things I love, I don't like to watch a lot of racing on the internet, but the Star Sailor League is
Oh
so
yeah,
much fun to watch, Vince. I mean, seriously. And of course, the talent at the front end of that fleet is amazing.
yeah,
It's amazing to watch KR at whatever
yeah,
he's past 60. He's
yeah,
right in there with these guys in
yeah,
big breeze. You know, of course,
yeah,
he's a tremendous sailor and he's in
yeah,
tremendous physical shape, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
just to watch the intricacies of the starboat and to watch the adjustments, and it's really some of the best racing you can watch of all classes anywhere. It's
Right.
fabulous.
So you got the mast forward in light air and in the downwind legs and stuff like that, which is no limitation by the class, right? So you like atolls, you have a limitation by the mast part and the mast step. You can only put the mast so far forward and the mast piece. That's it.
Yeah.
In stars, you can experiment all these things. You can hoist the jib like way up in the air to kick the pole out of the water and stuff like that. So is a development class that survived the years and evolved to a beautiful boat. And it's both super well built, very, very sophisticated building. And again, the rig is so nice because you can do whatever you want. Like you don't like the shape, I can change the shape and make this a full flat, flat on the top, full on the bottom, whatever. You can do that with just adjusting the control.
Aren't
And you
those,
have control for everything.
aren't those masts pretty easy to break?
They put ears to break, but they most of the time they break when you put the pole in the water. That's the only way you're gonna break them.
Really?
When you when you going downwind and the boat hits the windward, when you try to rock the boat a little bit, so
Right.
the pole hits the water and then fills the jib and breaks it.
Right. Interesting. This is a good follow-up question to that. Um, DTM wants to know, what was the biggest lesson you learned from Lowell North? First, about sailing in general. Second, in relation to the stars.
Well, Lowell was the guy that won, I think, the most world championship. I think he won 6 times the world championship in stars. And the first time he won the world would build his own boat. He sailed a boat that he built with his dad. Like his dad was real good with his craftsmen, and they built this boat. Boat was a horrible looking boat stuff, but pretty fast. Lowe was famous for to have boats that don't look that great on the deck because it drills holes back and forth.
Right. Right.
But the bottom and the sails and everything else was pretty special. Yeah.
Interesting.
So he was a very simple guy, very in a way kind of shy, and but he will, you can talk forever with him about boats and stuff like that, and sails, sail shape or material, something like that. But good family guy, good guy. I mean, he was. The guys that were with him at the time, like myself, uh, we were lucky to be there, like you said before.
And so specifically, what was the biggest lesson you learned from him, just in racing in general? Was there something that he did where you went, oh my God?
So I don't think he was like the things that I know from him is like one is that he was not the greatest statistician. He was not a guy that think about winning the race by better tactics or better starts and things like that. He wanted to win the race by being faster. And he was all his whole thing was about boat speed. He concentrated 100% in boat speed, and that was always his game. And matter of fact, you saw in like in some examples of him like later in life, uh, he did tactics for some boats and he did tactics with me. I mean, he was okay, but not exceptional. But one thing he was not never afraid to try something. I remember like sailing with him one time. We were going really well, and he said, "Vince, ease the backstay 1 inch. And I'm like, this is a pretty big change, 1 inch in the backstay. And we were going good. And so I said, well, it's 1 inch. Why are we going so well here? Well, because you're going to go even faster. And it happens that we didn't go any faster. Matter of fact, we went slower. And he was that kind of guy. He was not afraid to try some new thing. He was constantly learning something. And we used to joke about it. Like he has so many ideas, but of these ideas, a few of them were brilliant. And these ideas that were brilliant, he made his life out of it. It's just like the guy was probably, I remember he was not afraid to fail.
Interesting. It's such a delight to talk to you, Vince, about these things, because not only of your own knowledge, which is tremendous and as good as anybody's has ever been in the sport, but to hear you with such admiration and respect from those who came before you, what they were able to do, how they did it, and how you've really internalized a lot of that into the person and the sailor that you are. I mean, it's fascinating to hear this stuff, really and truly. I can't thank you enough for sharing some of this. But I'm going to finish up with one more question. Here's one from Crash Dog. He wants to know, do you sail on your days off?
Sail on the days off? I only have days off. I'm retired. I don't have, I sail days off. I mean, I don't have days off. Days, for me, I'm looking for stuff to do during the day, It's like what Dennis Conner one time told me. I said to him, oh, Dennis, I got to retire. These things. He goes, well, be careful where you wish, because I wake up in the morning, I have nothing to do, right? And I'm a little bit in that situation. So I've been riding bikes a lot and, trying to go get more the internet and try to kind of be sharper on the emails and stuff. But the coaching, when you're coaching, if you're busy, you travel quite a few times. Like right now with coronavirus, we kind of have a little bit of a downtime, which has been kind of fun because I was traveling quite a bit.
Right.
So I haven't sailed very much. I love sailing still, and but I haven't sailed much for myself. I've been sailing most of just doing kind of coaching, and then I'm going people's boats. But as you know, I have a FAR 40, and my plan is to actually to go out in the FAR 40 more often. Just
good.
Cruise along the bay.
Just fun sailing with friends and family. Yeah, that's awesome.
Have a glass of wine and enjoy the sailing.
Well, what I have to tell you is you're in on a little secret. So I sold my Flying Tiger, and I bought an Erickson 35 Mark II so that I can go up against Benny and you and Chris Bush and all of y'all. I'm coming after you guys.
Oh my God.
Now, one reason why I did this is because I've been racing sport boats for 15 years and I love them. Trust me, I'm going to miss the speed, just the liveliness of the boats, the responsiveness. But I wanted a boat that I could spend some time on, hang out with my girlfriend, family, entertain. We can weekend on the boat. And the boats are pretty decent. Listen, he won the Hot Rum Series overall last year, right? So the boats can win. And I just thought that would be just ideal for me. I need it to be 10 feet and under to fit into my slip. Erickson 35s are 10 feet. So I have one. It's in the yard now. It's getting worked on.
Well, good for you. Congratulations. So, like I spend a lot of time, if we finish the race, let's say I go and start raving mad and we just sail the hot rum or whatever. The place that we normally go to have a little cocktail is the Wani.
Is that right? Yeah, right. It's great. It's got a huge cockpit.
And we all go down below. It's a big table. We all sit around, tell stories, And Danny's over there, like in the next to the kitchen or the galley, serving wine, and he's kind of make sure everybody's kind of well served, and it's the best times.
He's one of my favorite people, and Karen, of course, just so great. And so I just think it'll be such a fun rivalry. I respect them; they're great people, and and plus it lets me do a little bit of the just fun sailing, you know.
It would be fantastic. And you're right. It's a good boat for also to go around, just kind of cruise around. It'd be fantastic too.
Totally. So
Yeah.
so that's what I'm doing. So maybe I'll get you with me and we'll go out and kick Benny's ass. And I'll take all the credit, Vince.
All right.
Hey, listen, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate your time. And I'll look forward to seeing you around the club.
Okay. Take care. And thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vince.
Take care.
You bet. Bye-bye. All right. There we go. Stop recording. Good. Hey, Vince, dude, seriously, thank you.
No, welcome. Thank you for having me here.
Really fun. And I'll let you know when this thing's live, okay?
Okay.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.